Alright, welcome back. GM Light here. Today we're going to be talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Finally, after years of production development, hell, going through different directors, different scripts, we finally have the movie. We can finally talk about it. So let's get into it. First, with the plot of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's about a troubled security guard beginning working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the late shift at Freddy's won't be so easy to make it through. So it seems like some of the early reactions are kind of negative, but I actually have a lot of positive things to say about this movie. I really did enjoy it, especially as a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. This has been one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I've been looking forward to seeing an adaptation of these games for a long time. So finally getting it is just such a pleasant thing to finally get to see these characters in live action, get to see these animatronics with the Jim Henson Company. There's a level of quality brought to it that I think just very much dignified the source material. It really would have sucked if they gave it such a shitty low budget, all CGI. It just would have been crap. It would have sucked. But they actually got good actors in this movie. They got good animatronic effects and everything. And I'm glad that Scott Cawthon took so long to accept a script for this movie adaptation. And that's really my first positive with this, is that it's such a Scott Cawthon script. He was very much at a point where he wasn't accepting scripts. He was being kind of difficult to work with. He didn't just want to give the source material away. Five Nights at Freddy's is his baby, and the lore matters a lot to him. And what I like is that a lot of this movie has so much lore infused to it. So much of what happens in this movie ends up meaning something. Everything builds, everything's a plot point, everything has significance, every character matters, and there's usually some kind of connection. It's kind of just built that way. And that's what I like, and it feeds into kind of the soap opera aspect of the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. I'm a huge fan of just those 3-hour-long videos of Five Nights at Freddy's lore. I get lost in those. I love watching them. I'm so captivated by them, and it's great to see this source material brought to life. And especially too, for the fact that they were restricted to a PG-13 rating. I think that they make the best that they can with what they have, and I'll get into that rating a little bit later when I get into more negative stuff. But aesthetics, visuals, the setting, everything about it is perfect. They got it just so right. They paid such attention to detail, and I love that they cared enough to not overly redesign them. They basically got them perfectly adapted, perfectly looking. They didn't change anything way too crazy much. It looks exactly like it's supposed to. And not only that, but the performances are pretty great. I really love Josh Hutcherson in this role of Michael Schmidt. He plays kind of an understated role in this movie. He doesn't get overly emotional. He's pretty tempered. There's a lot of layers to him, and he feels a lot more like a real person than some kind of dramatized version of what in a horror writer's hands that he could have been. In a lot of ways, he could have been very annoying, but I found him very relatable and just a character that you want to follow, root for. You get very much invested in his story, so I really liked him in that respect. And although we don't get, in my opinion, enough of him, Matthew Lillard was very good, very fun in the amount of screen time that he did have. He's got a quirkiness about him in this role. I think that he was just perfectly casted to play this very weird guy. He has odd tics, characteristics, something about him you could tell he's not quite right, but you don't know why. You can't exactly put your finger on it. His very few scenes are easily the highlight of this movie. I also too found a lot about this movie that I wasn't expecting. I thought that it would be kind of bare bones, just Josh Hutcherson signs up for this job, shit starts happening when he goes into the job, things happen, maybe a little bit of the lore sprinkled in. I didn't expect them to go this in depth with the lore for 1 hour and 50-minute long movie. They really do give you as much as they can in that. Sometimes it kind of deviates from the plot, it kind of derails it a little bit at certain points, but as a fan, I did not care. I wasn't upset about it, but it also doesn't feel like anything superfluous, not necessary. There's very much these themes of kind of childhood memories, trauma, and when they sprinkle themes like that in a movie, they tend to stick with me. I tend to resonate with them, the idea of valuing what you have and letting go, not hanging on to what's in the past, not taking it with you or sacrificing what you do still have for what isn't there anymore. That stuff just tends to work with me. I really enjoy when movies incorporate those themes. I think that this one did it in a way that was was subtle. You get the hint. It doesn't have to shove it and hammer it in your face. You get it, and I really appreciated that about the movie. This also too just makes for a perfect gateway horror movie for kids and younger audiences. This is a movie that I would have been obsessed with if I watched at like 8. It's not too much. It has some things that push the boundaries. They get a little bit crazy. They get things just enough to kind of earn that hard PG-13 rating, and I think that they really do push the boundaries and try to do as much as they can with that rating, but it pulls back, doesn't go full R obviously. And as much as I think that this movie would have been improved by an R rating, I do think that the accessibility to children and to younger audiences just provides the perfect way for younger audiences to get into horror. I also like the way that this movie handles the preconceived fan base. They know exactly what they want. They know what scenes to show, what lore to show, especially with what happens in the ending. Scene that I was really hoping that they would show, and they definitely delivered on it, and I was very happy about it. And I'm not going to be going into that. This is obviously spoiler free. They made a way for the fan service to feel very earned. They give props to several of the YouTubers that made Five Nights at Freddy's what it is, which I love. And they also humanize each of the animatronics in a way that I kind of wasn't expecting. I didn't expect you to actually really feel bad for them, understand their motivations, what they really want, in a way where you feel bad for them. You understand what they actually want, that it isn't as simple as just security guard shows up, the animatronics are haunted and they're trying to kill him. There's a little bit more there, and it does tie into those themes that I was talking about earlier. So even kind of on an emotional level and on a level of heart, there's a little bit more there than you would have expected. As for the negatives, obviously, I've made no bones about it. I wish this movie was rated R. I think that the fan base that grew up with Five Nights at Freddy's, they're mostly adults now, but there is also a lot of kids. This is a property that appeals to younger kids, younger adults, people that want to see this movie. So I understand the decision that they made, and no doubt it's going to be more profitable in the end. So if that's the difference of getting Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and getting no sequel at all, I'll take it. But I still think that the movie itself would have been enhanced by having some of these kills have a little bit of gore, have a little bit of teeth and an edginess to it. I think that it would have made the movie a bit more fun, but I understand why they did what they did. It also too, I think that on its own, this movie in some ways, when I watched it, I got the idea and kind of the feeling that it wouldn't be as accessible to people that aren't as into Five Nights at Freddy's. This is 100% for the fans, something that the fans will enjoy and get into. For normies, I kind of wasn't expecting it as much. My girlfriend, who doesn't know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, was able to get into it and did enjoy it, so I guess I was kind of wrong on that front. But just watching it for myself and kind of my own preconceived notions, thoughts, I didn't see how it would be as accessible to a general audience as people that know the lore, know the story, are interested in it. But I found it very engaging, and for me as a fan, I really enjoyed it. I just found the movie very engaging overall. I think that there's definitely areas for improvement, but hopefully if this movie does well, we're gonna get more sequels. I'd love to see a lot more. I'd love to see a lot more of characters like, I guess I don't know if it's a spoiler, so I won't put it in here, but a certain villain. I definitely want more of him. He was one of the best parts of the movie. But on a general level, I found this movie to be very fun, very enjoyable. I really liked it. It respects the shit out of the fans. It's very Scott Cawthon-y with the script. You could definitely see how his influence was on this movie. Some people will take that with the good, some people will take that with the bad. I take it as good. I really enjoyed it, but I don't know if I could recommend this movie to everybody. If you're a fan though, I think that you're definitely going to enjoy it. I think you're going to have a great time with this movie. So overall, I'm a huge fan of Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. I'm glad to say that it didn't disappoint me. I'm not upset with it. I had a lot of fun with it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear. I'm GM Light. Have a good one.